The biggest misconception in Rocket League that I have heard is that you need mechanics to rank up. Oftentimes, you'll find people in Reddit or in other places of YouTube asking what mechanics they need to learn to progress in their ranks. Oftentimes, I find myself, even with mechanics, struggling very often. It doesn't matter if you know how to air dribble. It doesn't matter if you know how to dribble. If you don't have the required knowledge or the time on the game, then you will find yourself just having a harder time overall playing the game. So in my last video, when I sat down 4 champs together, I asked a list of questions, with one of those questions being mechanics versus game sense. Is mechanics as important as other players make it out to be? With most of the champs actually answering, in this case, no. Mechanics are not as important as people make them out to be. Here's the reason why. First and foremost, mechanics only become important if you run out of some sort of weapon. So meaning you find yourself in a scenario where you're stuck and you will need some sort of weapon to get through a specific issue that you're having in games. So for example, this could be a person trying to out-dribble you or something like that, or flicking the ball over you, which happens to me very frequently. And oftentimes in those scenarios, I can save the ball, but sometimes I find myself in positions where I just cannot, for the life of me, get around that ball. Turns out it was very easy. Just use shadow defense. That's where, for example, shadow defense comes in very handy. So you should use mechanics, or you should learn mechanics when you find yourself that you are running short of weapons in your arsenal, meaning you need something to get you out of a specific situation. So for example, one thing that becomes definitely a bit more important as soon as you go into Diamond or Champs later on is that speed flipping becomes a pretty common occurrence. When you're slower to the kickoff, that means that sometimes the ball lands on your side, the other team gets the upper hand, or sometimes you'll find yourself like, maybe even hitting the ball to their side, making them scramble back and trying to hit the ball back to your side instead, which is one thing that happens very frequently. But here is what the champs actually said you should learn and look into when it comes to actually wanting to learn mechanics or actually improving at the game. You should focus on your fundamentals. You should focus on your ground play first. You don't need any aerials. You don't need any flip resets. You don't need any cool shots or mechanics that you want to learn. While mechanics and learning mechanics is fun, which you are allowed to do 1000%, sometimes in games, a simple jump and just a flip into the ball sometimes is more than enough to hit a goal. Oftentimes when you look at higher ranked gameplays, you will notice that oftentimes people don't really hit crazy shots. This might sound a little bit ridiculous. Those players are still highly skilled, no questions asked, but the biggest difference that I have noticed is that they aren't doing anything insane. They're not hitting quadruple flip resets. They're not flipping into the ball across the whole field, air dribbling it, doing a musty at the end. No. A lot of times, pros just genuinely shoot the ball in the easiest and most logical way. They have the weapons in their arsenal to make the shots more special, but sometimes keeping it simple is just better. And especially when you're not a pro, and in this case, a plat or a diamond player, for you, the best thing that you can do for yourself right now is just work your way up. Because when you think about it, at the very start of Rocket League, you need to first understand how to even hit the ball. After you learn how to hit the ball, you need to learn how to actually, maybe play the ball around your other players or enemies, that you have to fight against. Those are some things that you're going to have to learn. So pretty much working on your ground play. Before you even start looking at the air and trying to hit some cool shots, you need to first understand how to even play with the ball on the ground. What is the best way to hit it? What happens when I hit the ball a specific way? How does the ball bounce off the walls when I hit it in a specific way, and so on. A lot of times, those things like reading the ball does become a skill that you'll just learn over time, including with game sense. And the more you get used to ground play, the easier of a time you're going to have later on when it comes to air dribbles. When I was learning ground play over 2 weeks ago, after I spoke to my coach for the very first time, I had no idea how to air dribble. But after just literally focusing up on my ground play and just playing better on the ground alongside my team, I ended up being able to play a lot better than I originally couldn't have imagined myself to be able to play. I now understand how the ball moves, how I can tap it to have it go into a specific direction. Of course, I still miss. I lack the consistency, which are, for example, things that do come only with time. Those are things that you're going to have to learn through experience and playing the game consistently enough in regular games. So next time you want to learn a mechanic, ask yourself this: do I already have everything that I need to know for this skill to be easier for me to learn, or this mechanic for me to be more easier to learn. Because again, if you're looking at an air dribble, but you don't even know how to ground dribble at all or anything of that sorts, don't even get started on that. I see people that are diamonds literally hit the ball in the most ridiculous ways possible on the ground, which I am still victim of. I'm not perfect. I'm a plat 3 for a reason. But I also don't make myself out to be a pro. So when it comes to Rocket League, keep this in mind. Work your way up. It's like building a house. That's what my coach said. When you're building a house, first and foremost, you gotta work on your foundation. If you start off with your walls and your roof, you don't have a sturdy foundation to build your house on, meaning your house is going to break, and later on you're going to find yourself more in trouble than you could have ever had imagined. Which is why at the very start of playing Rocket League, you should focus on the very essential things: dribbling, ball control, being able to boom the ball if needed, of course, making calculated moves, being able to read your teammates, reading your enemies that you're playing against, reading the ball off walls, reading how you have to touch the ball to make specific plays, learning how to control the ball, taking your time, and so on. Just working on the absolute essentials when it comes to the game. Across every single rank, you're going to need to adjust these things accordingly. Your enemies will change, your teammates will change, meaning that all the time you'll have to get used to new skill ranks or skill levels that you could have never had imagined you had to just learn more about. You'll always have to adapt when it comes to these foundational things. But ground play across all ranks is something that will always be there. Aerials become important later on, but for now, truly focus on a few skills, and later on, once you have figured out your foundations, you're going to realize that learning other things like, again, aerials and so on are going to become a lot easier. Of course, you should know some basic aerials, so just flying to the ball, being able to hit it in the air and make a follow-up play is very important, but you don't need to know flip resets. So the biggest misconception in Rocket League is that you need to learn mechanics, or you need specific mechanics to rank up, because truly you don't need mechanics to rank up. You just need common sense and your foundational knowledge. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to join our Discord server. We're about to hit 100 Discord members. The server has grown drastically over the past few days, with most of these videos on the channel hitting now thousands of views, which I truly appreciate. So thank you guys so much for the support. We're trying to build the most committed Rocket League community on Discord right now. This Discord server is made for plats and up, meaning intermediate players that want to progress and become better at Rocket League. Thank you so much for watching the video. Make sure to subscribe if you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. Peace.